Would she come? Will she or won't she come? This was a question that was on everyone's minds that afternoon. I was sitting in the dust in a geodesic dome with colorful fabric festooning the outside. I was surrounded by 200 people, somewhat clothed, somewhat not. Women wearing burlesque outfits, striped kind of Beetlejuice leggings, guys with their heads shaved except for like 3 dangly dreadlocks at the backs of their skulls. There's someone behind me eating quinoa out of a metal container. You can kind of hear the distant thumpy thump of techno that always surrounds you when you're at Burning Man, which is where I was in 2013. Burning Man is a giant anarchic festival of art and music and sculpture and craziness that happens in the Nevada desert every year. It's about 70,000 people, and they're people who have pretty much seen everything. This year, however, there was something new, and it was listed in the guide as a demonstration of a live woman in orgasm, happening every day at 3 p.m. And the place was packed. Burning Man is not a place that's, easy to shock. We're talking about a place where people ride bikes down the streets wearing nothing more than pasties and hot shorts, and a place that has a 24-hour air-conditioned orgy dome where people hand you moist towelettes. So it's a place that's kind of hard to shock, but people were there waiting to see if she would come. All of a sudden, a woman gets on stage. And I should say, I was at Burning Man to have fun, obviously. I don't know if any of you notice this feather in my hair, but, I got it at Burning Man, so, yeah. Right? It's awesome. So I was there to have fun, but also I just started writing a book in 2013 about women's sexuality, which you just heard about, and so I was sort of researching the wilderness of women's sexuality. So this woman gets on stage, she's got a corset and a top hat, and she looks like $1,000,000. And she's like, people, when I was a young woman, I wanted to be a lesbian. I had had some terrible experiences with men, and so I just wanted to be a lesbian. Like it was a trap escape door that straight women could take anytime they wanted to. And she's like, and then I discovered this organization called One Taste in San Francisco. And it was all about people rubbing each other's genitals. And I thought that was super weird. But then it turns out that it's just a quality of attention and care that you can't find anywhere else. It's where I learned the art of orgasmic meditation. Orgasmic meditation, we soon hear, is a 15-minute practice, a meditation practice, where a woman lies back, takes her pants off, someone strokes the upper hand left quadrant of her clitoris for 15 minutes, no more, no less. And when they're done, she puts on her pants and they have a cup of tea. There's no sex. There is nothing else. She's not expected to have an orgasm. Many women find this freeing because the pressure at times to have an orgasm can be, somewhat annoying when you're a woman. Right? So a young man gets up, and he's also from One Taste, and he's like, if I offer you an ohm, you have the right to say no. If you ask me for an ohm, I have the right to say no. There are no osies, as in, I don't owe you anything. No osies. And, I do think to myself, this is kind of refreshing. And Rachel comes up once again, and she's like talking about all the obligation that often exists in sex. And she's saying, ladies, who here has sucked a cock they didn't want to suck? right? And there's laughter. Come on. How many cocks have you sucked that you didn't want to suck? Too many, says a woman that's a few people next to me. And this is a pretty amazing. People are pretty focused by this point, but they're kind of putting it off a little bit. They're like, we're going to play a game. Turn to the person next to you and figure out who has the longer hair, and you're going to ask each other, what is your desire? And when they answer, you're going to ask them again, what is your desire? And I turn to the person next to me. It is definitely a middle-aged, grimy-looking dude. And he says, what is your desire? And I say to the Russian man, well, to learn about female sexuality, because I'm a nerd. And he says, that is nice. What is your desire? Hoping to kind of get to the meat of it. And I'm like, to take a shower at some point today. Clearly not being very creative whatsoever. At some point, we're told to play another game. Touch a person's arm next to you. First, touching for their pleasure, then touching for your pleasure. I'm sure we're supposed to learn something from this, but at this point, I'm impatient, I'm hot and dusty, and I'm noticing something about my own willingness to have intimacy with strangers, which is kind of ironic since I'm at a live demonstration of the female orgasm. I hear behind me a voice of a young man. Oh, they're taking so long. Like, there are a lot of people here. It's rude. I hear the voice of a young woman behind me. Well, I think it's kind of about, a bigger idea, and they're trying to explain, like, what's happened. All of a sudden, before we could do anything, there's a woman in front of us that we have not seen yet. Everyone meet Natalie. We all applaud for Natalie. Natalie says nothing, lies down, takes her pants off. And all of a sudden, we are silent. And Keenan does what anyone would do in the situation. He starts putting on rubber gloves. And he says, I'm going to do a little basic anatomy for you. So this is the labia. This is the clitoris. This is the hood of the clitoris. This is the introitus. None of us can really see. The people in front can, but the people behind can't. And Rachel says, please do not stand up. If you can't see, you will be able to feel her orgasm. And amazingly, even though we are in a place of anarchy where do what thou wilt is the whole of the law, we all stay seated. And it starts, and we are silent. And I'm amazed. It's almost like we're in the Victorian era and some doctor is demonstrating doctoring on like a naked prostitute while like a room full of male surgeons watches and takes notes. And then I realized to myself that there is no precedent for actually what I'm seeing. There's just a half-naked woman, and she's on the ground, and she's surrounded by strangers, but she's vaguely in control of the situation. She has balls, I think to myself. No, wait. She has ovaries. And then it starts. And it starts. And Rachel says to everyone, now, guys, we're going to do something called framing. So when you experience Natalie's orgasm, what I want you to do is call out what you're feeling. And thus begins a sort of Baptist call and response. She's like, I want you to call out what you're feeling in your belly, what you're feeling on the back of your neck. Maybe your hands are getting sweaty. Maybe you feel nervous. And meanwhile, while she's talking, and someone says, my cheeks feel hot. Tentatively. I feel the sun on the back of my neck. I feel butterflies in my stomach. I feel happy. I feel nervous. I feel hot. I feel flushed. I feel jealous. I feel jealous as a man. I feel a weird tingling in my anus, says someone. And you can feel the temperature and the tension around me. Everyone is laser focused. Everyone is absolutely pinned to their seats. I'm actually not going to do it as long as she did because I'd run out of time in my story. Suffice it to say, Natalie had an orgasm. She may have had more than one. There was no real need to ask. But I felt strange. Everyone around me was electrified. I felt like I was in a weird, bizarro Baptist church listening to Pussy Jesus in a top hat preach about the orgasm. And all of a sudden, Natalie was done, and she was sort of dying off. Maybe get a few last ones in. And they asked her how she felt, and she uttered something that was out of a James Joyce novel. At some point, a ball of energy floated from my third chakra and then came out the top of my head and showered me in sparks. And all of a sudden, we're done. And at the front of the room, we can come and we can sign up to do this with a partner. And people begin to walk towards the room. And as I leave, I hear Rachel say, "Everyone shout out a few words about how you feel right now." Love, community, togetherness, energy, creativity. And that was the end. Thank you.